Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another live episode of the Movie Nights Roundtable. I am here, of course, with the amazing Nicholas Iricchio. Nick, how are you, my friend?
Good, how are you, buddy?
Good. Sorry we're a couple minutes late. Barely made it. Had a long, long day at the day job. But don't worry, we're good. I have all of you lovely people. I have my white monster, and I have my Costco chicken nuggets, so we are chilling. We're doing good. It's going to be a hell of a time to talk about movies. I'm not mentally well. But before we dive into the show, I have some fun things to go over. For those of you that have been following us, you may know that we actually have a short film currently in the festival circuit. And this past weekend, our short film Quiver was in the Central Florida Film Festival, or CenFlo, the abbreviated version. And I'm happy to say, if I don't drop this, I don't know if you guys will be able to see it, but we won Best Horror Short at the festival. It's a bit blurry, but yes. And it's a very nice plaque. I'm very pleased with it. I'll have to get some space on the wall there. But super excited about that. For those that have asked if they can see the film, we're still in the festival run. We're coming up on the end of it soon. I'm hoping to have it on streaming by early summer. So we're still working on that. And trust me, as soon as that is happening, we will not shut the hell up about it on the channel. So do not worry about that. Now, luckily, we have so much stuff to talk about on the show today. And, it's an embarrassment of riches, really. However, there was a story that just broke right before we went live. See, Nick, going live was the best idea ever, because when we did the show pre-recorded, we would be days late on news stories, and now we can actually catch up on some, which is a lot of fun. So
And
I'm
like
happy to
medieval
say,
times, these dragons could come out of nowhere.
hey, listen, you said it. You said it. And let's switch on over to the lovely PowerPoint provided by the amazing Nicholas Iricchio here. Everyone take a moment to just look at it in its glory. It's something that we should all be very appreciative of. Thank you, Nick. But guys, as I said, breaking news that just occurred literally less than an hour ago. And that is that Agatha Season 2 has a major update. A lot of us have been asking, will Agatha even be getting a season 2? What's the situation there? Well, an article from The Wrap has just come out, and it is saying that Agatha, all along, will not be getting a second season. This is actually a bit of surprising news, considering how well the season did when you compare it to its budget and compare that it was a spin-off of an already C-list character. A lot of us thought it would be getting a season 2, but turns out it will not be. I will briefly pull up the Wrap article here. Let's see what we got. Patti LuPone reveals that there won't be an Agatha All Along Season 2, but she wanted one. And of course, this comes from Patti LuPone on The Wrap, who just loved being on the spoil train the whole time she was there. Let's kind of pull up her quote. "There won't be one," LuPone told Bravo. Jack Schaefer, the creator, came into my trailer and she said, "Patty, I'm just here to tell you that," spoilers for Agatha, "Lydia's gonna die." And I went, "But I wanted a second season." She continued. Schaefer said, "I don't want to do second seasons." She said, "They wanted me to do a second season of WandaVision and I didn't. There's too much to write." Honestly, I feel that. I feel that, Jack Schaefer. And, she just goes on to say hopefully she gets to work with her again. And I find this to be quite fascinating, actually, especially when you consider the fact that, again, how successful the show was. And it looks like Patti LuPone actually had the capability to say no in a situation like this, at least seemingly so. And, so obviously the story at the end of Agatha All Along, which is a series that I ended up really liking, apparently that story is going to be continued elsewhere where they left off, and it won't be in a season 2, according to Patti LuPone in The Wrap. But, what are your thoughts on this, Nicholas? Was this something you were hoping to see? Are you surprised by this news? Kind of give me the rundown for you.
I am, I was a big fan. I think WandaVision is still probably the best series that they've put out. I'd put also Loki
Agreed.
up there as well. I think that with
Yes.
Agatha, it's a show I really enjoyed. I think we've talked about on the show, right? It not being this sort of four quadrant show really allowed it to shine quite a bit. Uh, but I also feel like to a degree, I mean, like she didn't want to do season 2 of WandaVision and she wrote Agatha. So is this really just going to end up being now a spin-off pivot into a Billy Maximoff show? It like is that sort of where this is all heading is where I'm I guess going back and forth on the article. I respect that they were able to put their foot down. I know Marvel can sometimes be this sort of big machine, and it's great to see that they're letting creatives at that point. I just hope that it's also not a thing where Marvel's like, we'll just hire someone else then because we're gonna do it whether you're on board or not.
Yeah, no, I definitely hope that they don't get somebody else. If they were to do it, I would like Jack Schaefer to do it, unless Jack Schaefer's doing like a Scarlet Witch movie, as long as she's still involved in something, because we know she's not doing the Vision series. That's going to be Terry Matalas, who recently did Star Trek Picard. Sorry as I bite my chicken nugget. But, I am a bit surprised by the news, because, as you said, the way that it was able to hone in on a target audience and really unapologetically be itself was a huge win. And,
It was.
I am surprised that we're not going to be getting more, but at the same time, it is what it is. It be like that sometimes, as they say.
Sometimes like that, it be.
Absolutely. So, Nicholas, let's move on to our next story, shall we? And this is the one from our thumbnail, everyone. The GOAT, Christopher Nolan. And this man is the GOAT in way more than one way, for reasons we're about to dive into. Why did we kind of use the GOAT thing? Obviously, we love Christopher Nolan here, but as you all know, he is making a new Odyssey film about the literal Odyssey, which is amazing. But with that comes filming locations, and he tends to be a very, big guy in filming in real places, tries to use practical things as much as he can. And this set, ladies and gentlemen, let's go back. This set is going to be going to Goat Island. Literally. I'm going to butcher the real pronunciation of the island, but Favingina? It's expected to start filming in roughly 2 months, and it is believed to be the place where Homer envisioned Odysseus landing with his motley crew to barbecue goats and stock up on the food. So, the guy's going for authenticity here, for sure, and you can't doubt him for it. The source was Variety right there, but it basically just kind of sums up what's in Nicholas's wonderful PowerPoint. So I'm going to take it back to us for a second, Nick. What are your thoughts on them going to the place where Homer envisioned this happening, taking it right to the source? And, do you think, I'm not even going to ask if you're surprised, because we're not surprised when Nolan does the madman things that he does. But is this something that you were kind of expecting to happen?
To be honest, I didn't know it was a real place. So no. But I mean, in terms of Christopher Nolan, it's great to see his ever commitment to practical effects and practical locations, and in Oppenheimer's case, practical bombs.
Yes, they dropped a real atom bomb.
I think it makes sense, right? I mean, if it's based on an actual place, why wouldn't he get the rights to film there? Christopher Nolan's a director that has a blank check from whatever studio will have him. Oppenheimer proved that he could still make it outside of Warner Brothers because he's with Universal. And this is really shaping up based on the cast and the story and the budget to be a huge, much like the original source material, an epic. So why not double down and go all in? And it does not shock me that he was able to get approval to film on the actual island. Next, he's going to somehow have found an actual Cyclops to be part of this. He's going to be sinking ships left and right. It's going to be interesting to see.
You know it. And I wouldn't be surprised if he has the Cyclops in his basement right now. I mean, that wouldn't shock me one bit.
I feel like he's a guy that knows the internet's love for him, and I feel like Goat Island just writes itself for a headline.
Yes, it does. It's going to be Goat Island, and that's where he's just going to live permanently because he is the goat, Nicholas. That is the beauty of this collaboration. Something that I'm particularly excited about as well is the fact that not only are they going to this real location, but IMAX, the company, has mentioned several times that they're actually going to be implementing brand new, never-before-used IMAX technology for the film. So you have that, you have Goat Island, and you have the ridiculous cast that they've already made. Chris Nolan's coming in hot. I mean, he's never not come in hot, but, I'm just beyond excited about this movie, and I cannot wait to see what he does with the rest of it. What do you guys think about... Oh, go ahead.
Have they broken down at all what this IMAX, like what this new technology is on a high level even?
If they have, I'm not familiar with it, but every article that has updates on Odyssey just mentions that they're using new IMAX technology, so they're trying to keep it in the back of everyone's heads. I wouldn't be surprised if closer to when production starts, they actually do a thing where they're like, hey, here's all the technology that we're using to kind of use it as a marketing push for the film. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Gotcha.
But guys, what do you think of Christopher Nolan going to Goat Island to film the Odyssey and likely to build his next home? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our next story. And Nicholas, this next story is also a fun one. A few years ago, a movie called Barbarian came out. And this film was really fucking awesome, if I have to say so myself. And it was directed by Zach Cregger, who was one of the filmmakers behind Whitest Kid You Know, one of my favorite sketch comedy groups ever. And this film came out of nowhere with a very specific marketing campaign and just bled into pop culture. And it was such a historic event. There's still no physical media fucking Blu-ray, by the way, which I would like one. But with that, he's now making a new film called Weapons, which was a highly sought-after script. It even started a little bidding war. And Nick, we love a bidding war here at Movie Nights.
We do.
And he caused another bidding war. Another one. And this time, it is with a huge franchise IP. Zach Cregger is officially going to be directing the reboot of Resident Evil. Now, this is something to be excited about. Now, this news was first reported months ago on the Jeff Snyder newsletter. And at the time, it was just kind of seen as, hey, I've heard this rumbling around that he's going to be doing Resident Evil, but, take it with a grain of salt. Well, now the Hollywood Reporter, one of the trades, has officially confirmed it. He will be directing the Resident Evil reboot, and it sparked a massive bidding war between 4 studios. 4 studios. We have the source link there, but essentially what the article says is it talks about the bidding war between the 4 studios, but it also mentions that it plans on going back to the origins of the game and being a just straight-up horror, that vibe that the original games had, that adventure horror vibe. And that's going to be really exciting because, as we know, there's been a whole franchise of films already dedicated to Resident Evil, which I haven't seen a whole lot of them, just to be honest, but they are varying levels of fun from what I understand from people who have seen them. But something that's always been a relevant complaint is, man, I just wish they would kind of go back to the source material, go back to the games and do something. I think if you're going to kickstart an IP from the dead, essentially, get the guy that made fucking Barbarian. He's clearly got talent, and if you have this news of him making this film, and Weapons comes out and just fucking crushes it again, you have all the momentum going into production. I think this is an excellent idea. Nicholas, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Barbarian was a movie that greatly surprised me. I thought I agree with your consensus that it's fucking awesome. I think that I really don't have much to say when it comes to Resident Evil. It's not a game series that I've played. I haven't really seen any of the movies that are out there. I think most of my interest comes from just Zach Cregger's involvement. Like you had said, we talked about Weapons on the show a while back. What studio, do you know which studio ended up actually winning that?
If I'm remembering correctly, I don't remember.
Oh,
so
right.
while you look at that, I'm going to find out which studio got it. So you can go on.
That's fine. So I'd be curious, one, if it's the same studio, who made Barbarian. Is the Barbarian studio trying to win him back? Is the Weapons studio trying to keep him? And there's also the, unfortunate Netflix of it all, where this could just end up being a bidding war and a straight-to-streaming movie. But as we've seen before, especially now, like we reported recently, that Greta Gerwig's Narnia movie is getting a theatrical release, and that Emerald Fennell actually turned down Netflix's large offer to go with the studio that would promise a theatrical release. And if Zach Cregger's movies are making money at the box office, I don't see any reason why he would also be in that same position to see it.
No, 100%. And by the way, it went to New Line and Warner Brothers is who won Weapons.
Okay, and I think from the article that we were talking about, I think that Warner Brothers is in talks for it. So I'm curious if they are going to keep doubling down on their sort of director-focused approach and really try to retain him with this movie.
Hey, to me, that's a good sign for Weapons. That just shows if Warner Brothers is fighting to get another one of his films, that means that they really believe in what he's doing so far. And, that's nothing but good news on my end. So the real question is, guys, what do you think of Zach Cregger taking on Resident Evil? I'd love to see your thoughts in the comments down below or in the live chat. let's move on to our next story, Nicholas. Now, this next one is something I've been looking forward to for a while. As we've mentioned on the show several times, James Gunn's DCU is kicking off full steam with Superman next year. Had it soft launched with Creature Commandos, which I really enjoyed personally.
Mhm.
And the next film up, which was surprising for a lot of people, is Supergirl. Originally titled Woman of Tomorrow, because it's kind of adapting that graphic novel, that story. And they might be shortening the title just to Supergirl now. But great news. We got a first look at Supergirl. And there it is right there. I'm going to get rid of my video for a second so you can see the chair with the logo on it. It looks beautiful. And it's just a quick little behind-the-scenes image of her in the chair. Looks like she's at a bar setting, which, for those of you who know the graphic novel, here we go. But here's some information on the film for you. As we know, it stars Millie Alcock, which we covered back when that casting was breaking. Directed by Craig Gillespie of I, Tonya and Cruella and many other things. Craig Gillespie is an amazing filmmaker. Releases in June of 2026, and I believe the synopsis, based from the studio as of right now, is in our series, we see the difference between Superman, who has been sent to Earth and raised by loving parents from the time he was an infant, versus Supergirl, who was raised on a rock, a chip off Krypton, and watched everyone around her die and be killed in terrible ways for the first 14 years of her life. And then come to Earth when she was a young girl. She's much more hardcore. She's not exactly the Supergirl we're used to seeing. I believe that was a quote from James Gunn when he was talking about Supergirl when they were initially doing those announcements. Mm-hmm. So, Nick, the real question here is, do you like the first look? I know it's not much to go off of here, but I thought it was a good image. I thought it was a good way to try to generate excitement. What are your thoughts on this first look?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Millie Alcock was a great casting choice for the role of Supergirl. I think that in terms of that cousin relationship, she fits sort of from an age perspective with David Gordon Sweat's Superman. And again, this isn't really so much a first look in terms of footage and plot and look at the outfit, but you're seeing her with the iconic curly blonde hair, and really the biggest announcement out of this is that production has begun, which I think is neat to see. Kind of going with what you said, I was a big fan of Creature Commandos. I really liked Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad, which are sort of, I guess, faded, loose memories, according to James Gunn, not really strictly canon. And from the footage we've seen of Superman, I think it looks like a great movie. I'm actively excited for it. I'm not the biggest Superman fan, personally. But I mean, while it doesn't really fit in the plans change. He said this is the script that was done, and there's a way to incorporate it into the story. And I recently just bought the comic. I was able to find it at a local shop, which is great. So I look forward to seeing that reading that as prep for the movie. And I mean, the casting announcement, which I think we'll go into on the next few slides, it's shaping up to be a good cast, and I'm interested in seeing how it all plays out.
100%. And sorry, I'm still eating my dinner. But one, I'm still trying to make you a Superman fan.
Yeah, one day.
I'm hoping that the new movie does it. I remain optimistic about this, and I know that there's some people who aren't really excited for James Gunn's DCU. There's even some people in the live chat, Lion Main Man, not excited for James Gunn's DCU. And hey, I completely understand that, especially if you were a huge fan of what came before, which I was. I've been very vocal about how I was a fan of the Snyderverse era of DC, especially once we got to see the actual director's cuts and true vision of what he had to offer. But I'm also just a person of just look forward to things with positivity, see what's going to be coming, and the fact that we have almost a blank slate to tell a new story in a new DC world, I'm very excited about, personally. Now,
I mean, it's a hard balance, right? Because you're going up against the people who were those hardcore Zack Snyder fans, which I really love his director's cut of Justice League. We actually just recently rewatched it. And you also have combating the people that also just don't have faith in the branding anymore, based off of Flash,
yes.
Aquaman 2, Shazam 2, Joker even. I think they have a big hurdle to jump over, which is, sort of why you're seeing all those reports too about, is Robert Pattinson's Batman going to be folded in? We actually did a whole episode on that as well. Just that is tried and true that people like it, so why not fold it in? We've had our argument, but I think those are the two biggest hurdles: is the hardcore Zack Snyder fans as well as the people who just don't have faith.
Yeah, no, and that makes total sense. And the only thing that upsets me so far about James Gunn's DCU is the fact is just the canonness of it all. Like, I'd prefer just a full clean reboot over kind of with some of the stuff that he specifically worked on. I do find that to be a bit annoying, but as long as the projects are good, I'll get over it. That's what we got to worry about. But you mentioned that we have more information about the Supergirl movie, and yes, we do. Here's everything we know about Supergirl so far. Is Jason Momoa is going to be playing Lobo, which was recently announced. He was previously Aquaman in the previous iteration of the universe. And for those of you who don't know who Lobo is, he's an anti-hero known for his violent and irreverent personality who hails from the planet Zarnia. Lobo possesses superhuman strength, regenerative abilities, and invulnerability that makes him a formidable opponent. What an excellent little synopsis there for Lobo. What else we know about Supergirl? We know that David Krumholtz is in it. That's always a good sign. David Krumholtz showing up in anything is good. And it also has Emily Beecham, and they're going to be playing Supergirl's parents. That's very exciting. That was taken from the Hollywood Reporter a few days ago. And yeah, this is going to be something that we're going to have to keep our eyes on still, as production moves forward. Hopefully they film some things outside, and then we can get a good look at the costume, and then people complain that the costume doesn't look good, and then we say, wait for it in the movie, and then when the first still comes out, it actually looks pretty good, although the first look of David Cornsweet wasn't very good because they chose a very odd picture for it, but in the trailer, suit looked great. I'm rambling, but we actually know more about Supergirl, and that is that Matthias Schoenaerts from Rust and Bone is playing the villain Krem of the Yellow Hills. What happened?
A lot of Scrabble points for that name.
Oh yeah, for sure. And in the comics, Krem is a pirate and assassin, formerly a King's agent hailing from the distant world that orbits a red star. So there you go. That is not related to Supergirl. Let me jump into that little spoiler for our next story. But yeah, guys, what do you think of the first look of Supergirl? Is this a movie that you're excited about? Please let us know in the comments as we move on to our next story. And Nicholas, I know you're particularly looking forward to the Armor Wars project, probably more than most human beings on the planet. And we actually have an update for Armor Wars, at least according to Daniel RPK, who's a very famous scooper in this space, who's right, I'd say, most of the time. I consider him at least accurate enough to report when he says something. And this is a fun thing coming from him. The film is currently on hold, however, it is not canceled. It will likely release after Secret Wars, and the story is now going to be completely different due to the Secret Invasion backlash. Now, I, of course, have a lot to say about Secret Invasion and about this particular thing, but Nick, I feel that this character belongs to you and how much you love this character. So I'm going to give you the floor here. What are your thoughts on just the whole journey of when Armor Wars was first announced as it was supposed to be a series to now? What are your thoughts and feelings when you hear news like this?
It doesn't give me hope that it's going to come out. We've seen Blade going through its trials and directors leaving, writers leaving. Mahershala Ali is somehow still attached, but it really does have this sort of feel of, oh, this is never going to happen. And that really feels like Armor Wars to me. I think that when it was announced as a series, I think it was coming at a very timely place in the Marvel universe, especially like coming off WandaVision, right? A lot of rumor was that it was going to really follow kind of Vision leaving WandaVision and that tech being on the loose, which is an interesting concept. It's also something we saw, Happy being put on trial for in Spider-Man No Way Home for all this loose Stark tech that's just running amok. How did Quentin Beck get access to it? How did Vulture get access to it? And I think it was coming at that point, but Secret Invasion really shit the bed. It was not a good adaptation of the storyline. It was just not a good series, in my opinion, at all. And I'm someone who's an easy sell. You put a Skrull in a project and you put War Machine in a project, I'm going to like it. And they said, here's both. And I was on board. I gave it the benefit of the doubt, and it was a disappointment, especially with the whole sort of reveal as it relates to Rhodey being a Skrull. We don't really know at what point that switch occurred, if it was just for the show or going back to Civil War. That's kind of what it seemed like to me, was post Civil War, which then to me just sort of defeats the War Machine character. That moment at the end in Endgame when Tony's dying and War Machine goes to console him, that's sort of meaningless. War Machine being at Tony's funeral, that's sort of meaningless. To a point where I don't think War Machine necessarily is a big enough character to you don't want to take away those emotional elements. I don't think there's interest in a story where War Machine's been asleep and finds out Tony's dead from, I don't know, agent number 3 or whatever, whoever the person is. It's a movie a series I was actively excited for, which then turned into a movie I was actively excited for in this hope of this period where Marvel was really looking to make sure each project fits the mold that they want it to, and we're going to take the time and money to flesh out this story. But we haven't seen War Machine in a project since Secret Invasion. I would like to see him show up more because I feel like if a War Machine Armor Wars series comes out without a lot of context within the Marvel universe, because we don't really even know where Marvel's heading, I just don't see where it fits in at this point. That was kind of a long tangent. I apologize.
No, don't apologize. All fair criticism. Here's what I will say, and it echoes a lot of the same sentiment as you. You'd mentioned that Secret Invasion kind of shit the bed.
Yeah.
I think that's the understatement of the year. I think that Secret Invasion, and anyone who watches a channel, watches us, knows, I do not like to be actively, like, discouraging or hate on things. Like, of course I criticize things, I give my thoughts, I say if something works for me, doesn't work for me. Secret Invasion is one of the worst studio-produced things I've ever watched. It's awful. It's awful. It's almost as bad as the Inhuman show that old Marvel Television did. And that was absolute trash. And I watched every episode, so I can say that it was trash. But, so it doesn't surprise me that if this story was going to be tied to Secret Invasion, that they are reworking it. I'm glad that they're doing that and not just continuing something that they know was a big failure. It makes sense that it's coming after Secret Wars, considering, like you said, we don't really know where it's headed right now. And they obviously want this story to be held on for later. But here's also what I need to say. They better, right away, even before we get to Armor Wars, just whenever we see Rhodey again, they better let us know that Rhodey has not been a Skrull since Civil War. Like, I know that was the implication. Do not go with that. Do not go with that. It's so uninteresting, and I feel like an easy retcon for them would be to say that he had been in there for a few months, and so his injury kind of started to come back because he was still for so long. Mm-hmm. I think it's an easy way to get out of that. Easy way to get out of that.
It is.
Do not do it that he was there since Civil War. That would upset me so badly.
I mean, I know this isn't everyone's favorite character, but he's one of mine, and it's what I feel passionate that I just want him treated right.
And listen, I get that.
He's an Avenger. He deserves the Avenger treatment.
100%. I get that. Boom, you looking for this? But I think that putting the film on hold for after Secret Wars is a good idea for now, and I hope that they can end up telling a really great story and have it be a great film. I hope that that's what occurs. But guys, what do you think about Armor Wars being put on hold and this update with it, and that it's no longer going to be connected to Secret Invasion? Let us know in the comments. But before we move on to our next story, there's something in the live chat that I actually missed, which was Lion Mane Man had said, I hope Ridley Scott's The Dog Stairs is good. I hope he listens to criticisms from his latest movies. I hope it's good too, but here's the thing. Whether or not the film is good is a bit irrelevant. What we know is that press tour is going to be fire. We know that press tour is going to be amazing because Ridley Scott on a press tour is beautiful, wonderful, and glorious. But with that down, let's go ahead and move on to our next story, Nicholas. And this is something that I'm really kind of looking forward to and I'm a little bit excited about. And that is the fact that we have the first reactions to Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which is the new animated series from Marvel Television, Marvel Animation, Marvel Studios. And this is something that I think is going to be better than I originally anticipated it being. And, it has an interesting history, this show, because it originally was going to be like the MCU prequel to the Tom Holland Spider-Man, but then that eventually got reworked into being its own thing because they felt very kind of hindered by the Sacred Timeline storytelling that they had, and they really wanted to do something different and fresh and try something else. And luckily, they were able to do that and got granted, hey, you're no longer in the Sacred Timeline. You do what you got to do. Go make your show. And it seemed to really free them up. It had a couple title changes. It eventually went to Spider-Man Year One, I think, and then it went back to Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And with that, the first reactions to the show have been really positive, which you really love to see. And to pull up something here, it premieres at the end of this month. Scripts for Season 2 are already finished. Animatics are halfway, and it's already been renewed for Season 3. A little bit of a typo there. That's okay. All the way through Season 3, it's been renewed. And I think that this is wonderful news for the series to come that we haven't seen yet. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to see this one early, but we will be watching with everyone as it airs. And I wanted to kind of follow this link here to look at some of these first reactions. Let's see here. Here we go. From Josh Wilding. I seriously can't say enough good things about this show. Where did it go? I seriously can't say enough good things about this show. The opening theme, the Steve Ditko inspiration, great supporting characters, stellar voice acting, big screen quality writing, and the action and web-slinging scenes. Wow. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is a must-see. Rowan Patel says Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is a total blast. A really well-told story with fully fleshed-out character arcs, great villains, spectacular action throughout, and it offers a fun, albeit classic twist on the MCU Spidey that will leave you clamoring for more. And these just go on and on and on. Joshua Ryan, who is actually one of the critics in the Central Critics Association of Central Florida that we're a part of, says, I watched all 10 episodes of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man and had a blast with it. It feels nostalgic of the classic 90s animated series I grew up on while using the multiverse to bring fresh visions and perspectives to fan favorite characters. Now, these are the reactions that you want to see if you want your show to kind of do well when it's airing. And Nick, this gives me a lot of hope for the series. And again, this was something that I wasn't anticipating to love as much as I seemingly will. You know, I loved X-Men 97, but I was also already a baked-in fan of the original X-Men series that they had. So, you know, seeing this really gets me excited to go watch it. How about you, man? Are you excited for the show? Oh, I can't hear you, Nick.
How about now? Good?
Yes, we can. We can hear you
Cool.
now.
All right. Sorry about that. I forgot to unmute myself.
No worries.
I'm excited. You know, this wasn't a show that was really on my radar. I didn't watch X-Men 97. I was not, like you said, a baked original fan of the original series. I watched all 3 seasons of What If. I thought season 1 was solid, and then I think it sort of deteriorated in value from there, just with a good episode here and there each season. So this was on my radar and that I knew it existed, but ultimately I didn't really have much of an interest. But then seeing all these sort of rave reviews coming out does have me excited for it. You know, I think there's a lot of elements to it that seem really promising. I think the biggest being the character designs look really cool. I mean, you have Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio coming back, playing Daredevil and Kingpin variations, respectively, which I
Yes.
appreciate that they are doing the voice work, and Marvel's putting in the time and energy to have those people transfer over. But honestly, to me, the biggest draw that I found out recently, which apparently was old news, is that Coleman Domingo, twice Academy Award nominated actor, is
2 times,
voicing
back to
Norman
back.
Osborn. Back to back, which
Yes.
was a record, is playing Norman Osborn in the series, which is awesome to see. I remember a while back, you know, there was reports saying Coleman Domingo in talks for an MCU role, and everyone was like, here is your Kang replacement, everyone, which I
Yeah.
was on board for. But then I guess, you know, it turned into this, which I'm really excited about. I think he's a phenomenal actor. I hope maybe this leads into maybe we get him as a live action Norman Osborn in the main MCU. I think that's a very different take on the character, very interesting, and I think he's a phenomenal actor. And really, honestly, he's probably my biggest draw to watching this series.
Yeah, no, he's an incredible actor. I love his work, and you know, him being in the show is a big draw for me as well. Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio coming in, so excited about that, especially because they released a brief clip of Charlie Cox's voice, and while it's definitely Daredevil, he does change it up a little bit for the animation. Like it's not a carbon copy voice, which I thought was actually a really interesting and fun choice from Charlie Cox to kind of give him a good, you know, fun, fresh idea on how to stay fresh with the character, especially in this corner of the multiverse. So I thought that was interesting. I'm curious to hear how Kingpin's voice is going to be. And I love the fact that it just looks like from these reactions, everyone's going to love it. Regarding Coleman Domingo, if he could be in the MCU, the only thing I would counteract that with is in Spider-Man No Way Home, we found out that Oscorp isn't even a thing, and so maybe Norman Osborn is not a thing, but it could come in through the multiverse. The possibilities are endless with
Or
the
perhaps it
goddamn
just hasn't
multiverse.
started yet. You have a young, hungry Norman Osborn on the prowl to start his business. Here's my hope for the series. I hope that they make Kingpin fucking huge. They can only do so much to Vincent D'Onofrio in the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he gets to play just a big fat fuck Kingpin.
Listen,
and here's my other hope, which I don't think has been really reported on yet and really unknown, but there's obviously a multitude of Marvel villains being incorporated in this. Specifically in the trailer, you see Doc Ock. Kingpin, or not Kingpin, Scorpion is also on the roster.
Yes.
Give Michael Mando his due. If you're gonna shaft him for the movie, at least he was so excited at the Spider-Man Homecoming premiere. He's like, I'm playing Scorpion. We don't get the suit yet, but you never know when I'll be back. Mm-hmm. And he is a phenomenal actor. On Better Call Saul, he's absolutely terrific, menacing. I think that he is honestly an A+ casting choice for Scorpion. At least give him his 100%. Chance here, At least bring him in, let him get his paycheck. Sorry about all that. Maybe one day, but, for now you could voice the animated. You see trends like that a lot in animation. Nick Cage got to voice Superman in Teen Titans Go to the Movies. Billy D. Williams got to voice Two-Face in, I believe, the Lego Batman movie. So let Michael Mando join those ranks. I would love to see it.
Oh, same. I would love to see that too. But guys, what do you think about the first reactions to Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man? Does it make you excited? Are you going to check out the show? Let us know in the comments as we move on to the box office.
The box office.
You guys knew that was coming. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up our predictions from last week, and I'll read them off here. My predictions were Mufasa coming in number 1, Flight Risk coming in number 2, One of Them Days coming in number 3, Presence coming in number 4, Wolfman coming in number 5. Nick, you had Mufasa coming in number 1, Flight Risk coming in number 2, Presence coming in number 3, and a Wolfman coming in number 4, and Sonic the Hedgehog 3 coming in at number 5. Nicholas.
Yes, sir.
Do you want to grant a guess as to who was right and who was wrong?
I'm going to guess that we were both wrong.
You're correct. We were both wrong. So let's get into it, everyone. When are we right? When are we? Flight Risk did open number 1, albeit lower than they probably hoped at $11.5 million. Mufasa came in number 2, dropping 29% from week 5 to week 6. Crazy hold, making another $8.5 million. Here's the fun thing, though. One of Them Days only dropped 32% from week 1 to week 2. And for a low-budget studio comedy, hell yeah. We love to see that. We love to see studio comedies have good holds and slowly do out the movie theater. I'm hoping this can stay in, a slow drop range and continue to make money for them. That would be amazing. That's my hope. Coming in 4th was Sonic the Hedgehog 3, making another $5.3 million, dropping 38% from week 5 to week 6. And coming in 5th was Moana 2, only dropping 30% from week 8 to week 9, making another $4.1 million. Presence came in 6th, opened with $3.3 million. Wolfman dropped 70%, making $3.2 million. Not good.
Crazy.
For
Not
that.
Good
yeah.
For a horror movie even too.
No, and Complete Unknown dropped 18% from week 4 to week 5, coming in 8th, Den of Thieves 2 in 9th, and The Brutalist in 10th. Now, let's dive into some of these numbers, shall we?
Do it.
Flight Risk made $12 million worldwide on a budget of 25. It's at 0.5 times that budget. Definitely has some work to do if it wants to get into some profitability there. We'll have to see how that goes. Mufasa, the Lion King. Let me go ahead and open some of these up. Mufasa now has $627 million worldwide. Good for them. On a budget of 200, it's at 3.1. It's well into profitability now. And listen, that just opened domestically to like $30 million, and it just slowly stayed in there. It stayed in there, and it did not give up. Good job, Mufasa. Good job. One of them days is at $25 million domestically, which is great because I believe that was around where the budget was 14. Oh, it's at 1.8 times that budget. It's almost there. Keep going. Keep going. Get your profitability. Go, go, go. I hope so. I hope that movie is successful. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 makes $446 million worldwide total. It's at just 5,000 more domestically than Mufasa now. And it was made on a budget of 122, so it's at 3.7 times that budget back. Some nice cushion for Sonic the Hedgehog there. And Moana 2 passed that billion, $1.026 billion on a budget of 156.8. I think I'd say the studio is happy with that, Nicholas.
Well, didn't they already sort of announce a Moana 3 is probably going to be in development there? And it'll probably actually be, make more. If this is what a TV series will do, I hope this doesn't set a very dangerous precedent on Disney's side where they're like, oh, we can just stitch together a series, turn it into a movie, and look, it'll make $1 billion. Easy. I hope that's not the lesson that's taken away from this.
No, I think the lesson that's taken away is stop making shows when there's billions of dollars on the table. So I think that's what they're going to start doing.
That's all we can hope.
A couple more I want to look at here. Let's kind of pull them up. Let's see. Presents has $3.3 million domestic, and you may be thinking, oh, that's not good. The budget was 2. Already at 1.7 times that budget. Keep it up, Soderbergh, you low-budget loving son of a bitch. Keep making movies. Love it. This is going to be easily successful by Wednesday. So good for them.
Easily. And if you haven't, time to plug, we have a review on our channel. If you haven't checked it out yet, please go take a look if you're interested in seeing it.
Please go watch it.
If you've seen it and want to know our thoughts.
Yes, Wolfman is at $27 million worldwide. I don't have the budget here. I believe it was around 25, so it's only made the production budget back so far. It's going to have to not have 70% drops again if it wants to see profitability. A Complete Unknown has $74 million worldwide. Honestly, good for that movie. Good for that movie. I don't have the budget here, but I want to say, and I'm kind of pulling this out of my ass, so if I'm wrong, please light me up in the comments. I want to say it was around like 30 million, maybe 40, maybe less. So either way, a decent result for them, and I'm sure they can't be too shabby. If it was like 25, they're doing really well, especially for this type of film theatrically in the current climate. The Brutalist is now at $11 million worldwide. The production budget has been successfully returned. Good for them. And they'll just have to keep going a little bit more for profitability, but with all the Oscar attention it's getting, I can see it staying at theaters for a little bit longer. And why not? Den of Thieves 2 now has $39 million worldwide. I can't remember what the budget was, but I think the studio was hoping for a little bit more on that end. But yeah, and you know what? Fuck it. Let's do Wicked. Wicked is at $717 million worldwide on a budget of 145, just under 5 times the budget. Universal has got to be thrilled. Got to be thrilled about that. Absolutely. That was the current box office, and before we leave you guys, we of course have to do our predictions for next week. Nicholas, do you want to do your predictions first?
Oh man, so let's see. We got Dogman coming out, and we've got Companion coming out.
Yes.
And let's see, Flight Risk made 11, Mufasa at 8. You know what? I think I'm gonna go with Companion number 1.
Okay.
I'm going to go. I'm gonna go Mufasa number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with. Let's do Dogman number 3. One of them Days number 4. And Sonic 3 number 5.
Interesting. Very interesting.
That's where I'm sitting on it.
I'm gonna go nutty, Nicholas. I'm gonna go Dogman number 1.
Oh.
Companion number 2. We'll go Flight Risk number 3. One of Them Days, number 4. Mufasa, number 5.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think Dogman could be, I don't think it's going to be a huge hit per se, but I think it's got more than 11 million in the tank. And I think Companion has about 11 million because it's been marketed really well, but I don't know if it's just been marketed to our niche markets or if it's been, everywhere. So we're going to have to see.
That is fair. There's not really a lot of kids programming. Well, I guess Moana 2 is still making money, but maybe people are tired and want something different. I just don't know if Dogman's a strong enough IP to pull that off.
No, but I feel like it might have the anime effect of it has a small but small but passionate fan base that's going to go opening weekend and front load the numbers, and then it'll just fall off in the weeks after. That's kind of my theory. I don't know. We'll see. I have to see how it goes, but yeah.
All right. Well, that'll do the box office. We'll see next week.
That'll do the box office for our
We had
predictions.
one placement right this week, so let's shoot for more green next week.
Definitely shoot for more green. But guys, that is the show tonight. Thank you so much for joining us live if you did, and thank you for watching elsewhere. You guys are amazing. As always, we will be back on Friday with another live stream. And if big news happens during the week, we'll do something in between. But until then, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.